Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel on what is a beautiful sunny day here in Cornwall. In fact, when I jumped in the car just now, the car was reading 31 degrees. I'm not sure that I believe that. In fact, we're driving now for about 5 minutes and it's already down to 24. So you can't really believe what these cars tell you. Anyway, that's not what this video is about. I'm on the way to my local car auction. It's not too far from my home. It's a commercial car auction, so traders really use the auction, and you get lots of big dealerships moving their part exchanges out through this auction and selling them to smaller traders. I've bought many cars from there over the past 10 or so years, but every now and again, very occasionally, well, you get something a bit special that comes through the auction, just like my Ford Focus RS Mark 1 that I bought from this exact auction back in, 2020. And in last week's sale, well, it appears that a car collector put a couple of his cars into the auction to, well, see what they'd make. You see, the car in question that I'm going to pick up today, well, it's a car that I always promised myself. In fact, I originally promised it to myself back in 1986 when I was 8 years old and I saw one for the first time. And then I promised myself again that I get one back in 2001 when I sold my last one of these cars. 22 years on then, and well, one of these cars actually pops up in my local car auction. I often say that, well, my cars, they find me. I don't go looking for them, and that's certainly the case here. About 15 or so years ago, I wrote myself a list of all the cars that I want to own before I have to give up driving one day in the future, and I'm fortunate enough to have owned lots of them. And this one is on the list, and it's local to me, right on my doorstep, and it's even in the right colour. Now, regular viewers of my channel, you'll know that I'm currently partway through restoring a Ford Sierra Sapphire Cosworth. Well, the restoration on that, it stalled a bit, to be honest. There's a problem that I need to overcome, and it's going to be a little while before I can drive that car. So I thought I'd get my XR 4x4 Sierra out and enjoy that in the meantime. But that's also got a problem, an electrical problem with the cooling fan. So that again is parked up at the moment, waiting for the auto electrician to come take a look and sort that out. And my XR3i Cabriolet, well, that's waiting on an MOT. So I've got nothing to drive. Maybe it's these frustrations that resulted in me bidding. Or maybe it's because I'm just a mad petrol head obsessive. I'm an addict. Perhaps I need help. We'll find out together. So what do I know about this car? Well, it's a 1984 car, and that means that next year it will be tax and MOT exempt, which is exciting. I also know the car has been painted to a fairly average standard, so I know there are some blemishes in the paintwork, but well, that doesn't really bother me. You see, these cars are getting quite expensive. In fact, I think if I hadn't bought this one, perhaps I'd never have owned one. Who knows? Let's go and take a look at this car anyway and find out if it's any good and if it becomes a long-term member of my collection. Now, if you enjoy this video, please do click like, and do let me know in the comments below your thoughts on this purchase, whether you think I'm mad or whether you think it's a sensible addition to the collection. And please do subscribe. It really, really helps the channel. What is it then? Well, many of you will already know from the thumbnail. And if you're regular subscribers of the channel, you'll know that around a couple of months ago, well, I made a video about my road, my journey back into owning one of these cars when I featured my Ford Cougar V6. So let's go and collect together. I'm really, truly excited to say a Mark III Ford Capri 2.8 injection. Wow. Here we are then, arriving at Mannheim. Let's go, get the keys, find the car. Here it is, look, bit of history, and here's the car which they're going to bring out to me. Wow, it looks great. Okay, let's have a look around it. Now, there were 3 variants of the 2.8 Injection Capri. And well, this is the one that came right in the middle, I believe produced between January 1983 and October 1984. And this is an August 84 car, which makes it one of the very last of this type of 2.8 injection. Now, the 2.8 Injection Capri that came before this, they were fitted with 4-speed gearboxes and patterned Recaro interior with a design that harks right back to the late 1970s. In January 1983, well, the revisions for this particular model included a more sedate cloth Recaro interior and a 5-speed gearbox. And after this model, in October 1984, came the highly desirable 2.8 Injection Special with half-leather Monzo Recaros, these 13-inch 7-spoke alloy wheels, a body-coloured grille and a limited slip differential. And finally, the Brooklands 280, produced only in green with full leather. Wow, what a swan song for the Capri Mark III. As you'll notice, my car is wearing the 13-inch 7-spoke alloy wheels, but from factory this car would have had the super retro cool Pepper Pot 13-inch alloy wheels. My car also has a body coloured grille. Now that's wrong, this car should have had a black grille, and actually I found a photograph of this car at a show in 2013 wearing its original black grille. Here, take a look. Now, I do prefer the body coloured grille and I'll probably keep it. But as for the wheels, I'll source a set of the original Pepper Pot alloy wheels. There are loads available for sale. A quick eBay search earlier showed me these, so lots available. I will buy a set, and stay tuned to the channel, subscribe, and you'll see if I ever change the wheels on this car or if I keep it exactly as it is. Now, before I drive it out of the auction, because I haven't driven it yet, well, let's take a quick look around. My Capri. There, I said it, wow, my Capri. And the paint, first of all, I mentioned it earlier in the video. I just love the colour. Isn't this car going to look fantastic parked next to my Ford Sierra Sapphire Cosworth if I ever get that car finished? And my Ford Cougar. Wow, they're going to look great. The thing is, as I mentioned earlier, this car has been painted before. And whilst it looks really good on camera, and to be honest, as I step back now, the car looks brilliant, there are a few issues with the paintwork, which I'll look to improve, assuming that, well, I keep this car as part of my long-term collection. I knew about the paint before bidding, and well, to be honest, it's much, much better than I expected. There's certainly nothing here that needs attention straight away. In fact, I'm probably being picky because, well, this car looks fantastic and you could probably drive it like this forever. It's a bit dusty at the moment, so we'll take it home and give it a clean, and maybe that will reveal a little bit more underneath the dust on this car. But right now, it's looking tremendous. You could drive it like this forever. Now, a couple of other things about the exterior of the car. Well, the first thing to notice is that it's had the aerial delete. In fact, this car's been fitted with one of those interior aerials. The Ford badges are dark blue, and well, they're just wrong. And as for the bonnet, well, it's been replaced with a fiberglass bonnet because they tend to rust there along the front. And there's no risk of a repeat of that with this bonnet. One other thing that I've noticed, I think around the back of the car, well, the rear lights are the wrong way round and upside down. Stay tuned to this video because I'm going to be sorting that out in just a moment. As for corrosion, well, the car is really good. The rear arches, the seals, the front arches, the outer wings, well, they're all really tidy. As is the scuttle panel, albeit I think it's had a repair before. And as for the A-pillars, well, let's take a look at those as well because they tend to rot in these Capris. That's looking really good. And along the seal there. Let's check the other side. Again, nice and clean in there. Yeah, great. Inside the Capri then, well, it's all very original, with the exception of this awful aftermarket stereo. Now, it has the usual Capri dashboard cracks, but they're not too bad. And I just love these Recaro seats, which are in really good condition, as are the door cards. A few bits of trim that I need to source, but that's no big deal. There are a couple of jobs that they just have to tackle. First of all, the lovely and iconic quartz motionless clock. Well, it doesn't look like it's working, so I have to sort that out. And this awful Ford sticker here on the steering wheel. I'm tempted to peel it off now, but I won't. I'll wait till I get home. And talking of things that you do when I get home, that's to try out this sunroof, because they're notorious on the Capri for not working. So we'll give this a tilt and a slide when we're at home. Not yet. Right, let's check out what's in the boot. What is it about me buying Fords from Scotland? Just like the Sierra Cosworth and the Focus RS Mark III, this Capri looks like its roots are in Scotland. Anyway, let's pop the bonnet, let's pop the boot, not the bonnet, the boot, and see what's under here. Okay, well, the holy grail, look at that. An uncut, unmarked Capri parcel shelf. Good grief. Well, that's got to be worth some of the money. And also a big thanks to the previous owner, because they've left me a prop, because these struts on these Capris, they do get a little bit tired. Right, let's have a look underneath the carpet at the boot floor and see what it's like. And that's looking pretty good. Original steel wheel there, but no cause for alarm under there at all. Very nice indeed. Now, before we take a look under the bonnet, it's worthwhile saying that all of the 2.8 injection Capris, well, they had the same engine, that fantastic 2.8 litre 6-cylinder Cologne engine, producing what, near to 160 brake horsepower and making a lovely exhaust note, thanks largely to these two exhaust pipes just sticking out either side of the car. And these look in really good condition and have always been one of my favourite things about the 2.8 injection Capri. Right, let's take a look under the bonnet. It's a very light fiberglass bonnet, and well, first impressions, it looks really good. Very tidy indeed. Inner wings and strut tops look, well, pretty good. They've had some work clearly, and no obvious signs of oil. In fact, it looks very dry and very presentable under here. Now, this Cologne V6 engine has the Bosch K Jetronic injection system, which is great when it's working, but frustratingly fiddly when it's not. Let's hope when we turn the key on this one in a moment that everything is okay. Right, I'm just going to check all of the fluid levels in this, the coolant and the oil, and then join me back in the car in a moment. We'll get this thing started and we'll see if it makes it the 15 or so miles home. Right everyone, we are away in the Ford Capri 2.8 injection, and there's much to update you on. So let me do this window up a second. So I drove this car out of the auction yard, no problem, it started fine as you heard, and then it cut out. I was a bit worried, but it turns out it just ran out of fuel. So I borrowed half a gallon of fuel there from the auction, got the car going, took a picture of the car next to my Focus RS, here, take a look. And then I've been straight to a petrol station where I've put about 30 quid's worth of fuel into it. And we're all systems go. We got about 15 miles to drive home. It's really, really sunny. And well, these 2.8s, they do have a habit of overheating. So hopefully we won't have that problem. And also it's just gone 5 o'clock. So this is rush hour traffic. What a silly time to think about driving a near 40-year-old car home. But let's see how we get on. And to be honest, sat here now, well, I'm in heaven, looking out over that glorious sculpted power bulge there. I mean, they just don't make cars like this anymore. And here sat with this lovely 3-point steering wheel, all these dials that, well, they tell me I've got good battery power, I've got a good oil level, I've got fuel now, thankfully, and we are right where we need to be on temperature. So that's all good. What a lovely looking dashboard this is. And I've just noticed actually that the stereo here looks to be a Bluetooth phone thing as well. Doesn't matter, it's coming out, but interesting modern tech here in my near 40-year-old Capri. Right, it's a bit rattly. I'll move this mat a moment. So far so good. Let's hope we don't hit too much traffic on the way home. Just watching that temperature gauge all the time. It's the first time after all that I've driven this car. These seats are really comfortable. It's hot in here. I've got the windows closed because I want to make sure that you all can hear me, and I'm still afraid to open this, but we will have a go when we get home. Sorry for not showing you lots of the reveal of this car. This car was actually in the auction hall when I went to pick it up just there, and they drove it out for me. So yeah, we didn't quite see the big reveal. Here's some photographs of the car in the auction hall, but still, hopefully you got a sense of how exciting and probably how foolish it is to buy a 40-year-old Capri sight unseen when you haven't driven it. Still watching that temperature gauge, which is going up, but hopefully it'll be okay. Anyway, let's drive a little bit more and see how we get on. About 10 miles in, and the car's driving really nicely. The engine feels lovely and strong, and well, it's making a fantastic noise. The only thing I will say is that the temperature gauge, well, it's getting a little on the high side. We're not getting in the red. In fact, we're not getting too close to it. When there's a nice sort of airflow around the engine, it's fine. I'm just not hearing the fan kick in. So I think in a minute, I'll probably pull over and let this car cool down a bit. Only about 6 miles to go. I think there's probably an issue with the thermostat or the viscous fan not kicking in. But having said that, we're about 75% of the way up on the temperature gauge, so it's not too bad. But what a lovely old thing to drive. And I say old thing because it feels old. I've got 30-year-old cars and they feel old, but this comes from like a different time. The temperature gauge is holding pretty well. Let's push on and let's see if I make it home. It's still a nice day, it's a nice evening, so I'm hoping that I can wash the car when I get home. That temperature gauge is coming down a little bit now. We're in the shade, nice cool air. Yeah, good car. I think we'll make it, but I probably just jinxed it. Let's find out. This is such a hoot to drive. God, I remember this so well. It's bringing back lovely memories. Memories of me sat in that seat when my granddad had a Mercury Grey 2-litre laser, the one that I saw back in 1986. And memories of me at about the age of 19 driving my 2-litre laser. There's nothing on the road today that drives like this. God, this is fantastic. And, well, the temperature gauge, we're nearly home, and the temperature gauge is holding steady at about 75%. I still think it's the wind around the engine, the air around the engine that's cooling it. Don't think that viscous fan's cutting in. We'll get that looked at. But right now, I'm pretty confident I'm gonna make it home, and I'm gonna be able to clean my Capri and turn those lights around on the back. So stay tuned while we do that, and then we'll be able to see what the bodywork on this car really is like. Here we are then, the Capri made it home. In fact, completely drama-free, if I'm honest. I was a little bit anxious about the temperature gauge, which did get up towards the red, but I have to remember, this thing's got a viscous fan and they were never that good when new. Here's some footage of the car running when I got home, and as you can see, it's running sweet as a nut. Listen to that engine note. And then a quick blast from round the back. And the whole time the car ran fine. It didn't overheat once, so that's good. And if it can do that in the sort of temperatures we've had today, well, brilliant. I've got home, spent an hour away from the car, if I'm honest, and now I'm going to do those few important jobs, starting with this. then this, and now this. Ah, that is so much better. Over the more than 100 years that man has been motoring around in these wonderful machines, has there ever been a car this pretty? There are lots of beautiful cars in the world, but could the Ford Capri Mark III be the prettiest? I don't know. The fact that you're watching this tells me that you probably think so as well, and it's looking absolutely stunning here. After I washed the car yesterday, well, I took it for a lovely drive around Cornwall, and well, here are some photographs actually of me parked near to the river. The car looks so classy. So today I popped into the local garage and they were kind enough to let me put this car up on the ramp so we could take a look and a quick walk around underneath. In fact, I'll put a video up now. And the good news is, structurally, this car is really good. In fact, we only really found evidence of one patch of welding to the underside of the car, which is good. Quite impressive, really, for a near 40-year-old Ford Capri. Well done, car. I did also get that viscous fan checked, and sure enough, it's slipping a little bit, and I think there's a crack in the fan itself. So I've ordered a new viscous fan and the fan itself, so that'll be replaced, and that'll just give me the confidence to drive this car a little bit further. This car hasn't overheated, it hasn't even shown signs of overheating, but it is just going past that midpoint, and we think that the viscous fan replacement will sort that out, which will be great. I just want that in tip-top condition, particularly on these lovely sunny days that we're enjoying at the moment. Also, as for the clock in the car, well, it is working. It turns out it's the second hand that's not going round. It's not quite keeping time, but the clock is working. So we've got an electrical supply there, which means we should be able to swap the clock out. And as for the sunroof, well, I'm pleased to report that 50% of the time it works every time. Sure, this one slides, but it doesn't tilt. And for a Ford Capri sunroof, well, I think I'll take that. That's good news. Now, I bought this Capri because I was busting to own one again after owning my 2-litre Laser over 20 years ago, and I always wanted to own a 2.8 injection. This car has not disappointed. Will I keep this car long term? Well, I'm not entirely sure at the moment. Sure, I love driving it around, and I think I'm going to do a few jobs to it. I think I'm going to take it to a show or two and then make my mind up over time. I've got lots of cars, I enjoy lots of cars, and I don't really want to keep and neglect this. I'd much prefer, actually, if there's someone out there for it who'd be interested in the car, maybe get in touch, because this car really deserves to be on the road and enthusiast owned. So if you do like the look of this car, do give me a shout. I could be tempted to sell it, or I'll keep it, and we will continue to enjoy the Ford Capri. Thank you so much for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. If you have something to say, hit the comments, but most importantly, hit that subscribe button. It really does help the channel. Thanks, and I'll see you again on the next one. Bye for now. Bye-bye.